Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel and welcome to my honest and personal, remember subjective, reaction to Saturday night's main event which took place. I don't know where I'm pointing yesterday, which of course was Saturday. Anyway, and I just kind of want to sit down and talk to you guys about how I felt about it. And again, this is completely subjective, but I did enjoy it. My biggest issue was how predictable not the finishes themselves, but the outcomes were. And while that's not a big deal, it just kind of got to me because I feel like we've entered this era in WWE where not everything is predictable. Usually at least once on a show, something happens that you didn't see coming. The biggest example is when Shinsuke Nakamura won the United States title from LA Knight, and that was just shocked everybody, even everybody was happy about it. And I know that Saturday night's main event, I'm so sorry about the background noise. This is like my fourth attempt at making this video, and I've been trying to do as much as I can with that, so just bear with me. But I know that Saturday night's main event was airing on like television on NBC. I watched it on Peacock because why not? And that kind of took away from it being a super big show, but it just felt like it was going to be a really big event, and it still was. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it was Saturday night's main event. It wasn't supposed to be huge, but it felt like the way WWE had built it, that there were going to be some big surprises. And while there were some good story beats and the matches were fantastic, which we'll get into, and of course what happened when it went off the air, when Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens finished their match, I just kind of felt like, okay, it went off the air, and I'm like, okay, I mean, it was fine, but we'll talk about it. Of course, the first things we saw were Joe Tessitore and Jesse Ventura, who, I don't know how old Jesse Ventura is. I guess I could have looked it up before I started this video, but I didn't. But he still sounds great. He looks great. You could tell he was just happy to be there and saw as a passion for the business. And Joe Tessitore has fit into WWE very, very well, in my opinion. And then, of course, Pat McAfee returned to call the show with Michael, which was awesome. Of course, they're going to be the team for Raw going into 2025 with Netflix and all that, which is interesting because right now it's Joe Tessitore and Wade Barrett. I guess they're just going to go to SmackDown, but I haven't actually heard anything about it yet. But all that's how we started the show with Joe and Jesse sounds like they're contractors or businessmen. They were the hosts, more or less. They stood at that old school podium. And then, of course, Pat and Michael were on commentary. And the first match was Drew McIntyre and Sami Zayn. And I think it was, as far as the way it was built, it was probably the most perfect match of the night. Not like the best worked or best wrestled or anything like that, but it was perfectly done. During the introduction, Sami jumped Drew. It was pretty back and forth, but when Drew was in control, he was in control. I mean, he was throwing Sami around, slamming him around. Sami was doing like dives and stuff, but Drew was just like, I don't care. I'm going to throw you into this. I'm going to throw you into that. I'm going to throw you in the air. It was really good, and I really liked the finish. The Claymore is being taken more seriously as a finishing maneuver. Actually, this whole show was very good at being like, here's a finisher, it's over, instead of the 1-2 ooh, or the even worse to some people, the 1 kickouts. The 1 kickouts are cool, but they definitely were overdone in 2024, especially in another company. Again, I love all wrestling, but I have to call a spade a spade. But the way it ended with, I think Drew rolled to the outside, Sami went to the outside to attack him, Drew got back in the ring, Sami got back in the ring, Claymore, 1, 2, 3, we're done. I loved that. I can't wait to see what Drew is actually going to do in 2025, because clearly he's still pissed at the OG bloodline. He took out Jey Uso, he attacked Sami Zayn, he took out Jimmy Uso. He's clearly he just wants to take them out. I don't know if we're going to get another Drew Roman match next year. I wouldn't be against it, that's for sure. But it's good for Drew. It's one of the biggest wins he's had in a while, especially since he lost overall the CM Punk feud. And Sami Zayn could lose every match for 6 months and still come out looking great. And I think that's where we're heading with this. Not losing for 6 months, but I do think there's a rematch on the cards. And I don't know how that one goes. Like, does Drew win again? I have no complaints. I honestly thought it was going to be shorter. I thought we were going to give Drew more or less a squash. You can't squash Sami Zayn. But I thought it was going to be a little more one-sided and then be a little shorter. But honestly, it was the perfect amount of time for the 2-hour runtime with commercial breaks that we had for this show. Then we moved right on to the Women's World title match between Io Sky and Liv Morgan. Now, personally, I freaking love Io Sky. I've mentioned this in past videos. I was always ignorant to the independent scene, but when Io Shirai debuted on NXT, I went out of my way to learn as much as I could about her because she was awesome. Arguably one of the best wrestlers on the planet, not just in the women's division, just overall. I gushed over and over again about what her and Tiffany Stratton did in War Games. Her and Liv had a fantastic match. I mean, honestly, one of the best women's world's title matches on either show, whether it's the women's championship or the women's world's championship, all year, in my opinion. And that's saying a lot, I know, especially with WrestleMania, SummerSlam, blah, 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 Rhea Ripley, etc. But it's just the way it was worked, and the fact that there were no shenanigans, there was no Dominic, there was no Rhea, or not no Rhea, no Raquel, and of course Damage Control stayed in the back as well. It made Liv Morgan look awesome. Io, she's one of those classic wrestlers, I think. She's entered that upper echelon where you can say Io Sky could have a match with a broom, and the broom would win Wrestler of the Year. So this was just perfect. Io looked great. Once again, the finish. I hate to sound like a broken record, but we are going back to protecting finishing moves, which I think is great. If we can go back to protecting finishers and then start doing the surprise kickouts rare, make it like oh wow, nobody's kicked out of that in a year or something, that'd be awesome. Especially something like the Claymore, or in this case, the Oblivion. And of course, we have to talk about that knee strike. I've heard a few people talk about it on reviews, and not enough people have talked about the fact that after the match, because Io hit that knee, went for the over the moonsault, Liv Morgan put her boots right in Io's face, I'm pretty sure. And then she hit the Oblivion, 1, 2, 3. Liv's nose was bleeding. Like, I haven't heard enough people talk about that. So, Io Sky didn't phone that knee in. She took her knee and slammed it into Liv Morgan's face. So, you know, perhaps the boots to the mouth was a receipt. I'm sure they talked this over. I'm not saying she did it to be an asshole or anything, but it was a hard-hitting match. They did very, very well. It's going to stay in my mind for a long time. It's one of the matches I might go back and rewatch just because it was that good. And again, it made Liv Morgan look awesome. I mentioned Rhea. As they were walking to the back, Rhea Ripley's music hit, and they just stared at each other while Liv held the title up. Why not? There's probably some lapsed fans watching this show because it has the classic name and it's on public television. NBC, like I said, I'm pretty sure. So there's probably some lapsed fans that are like, oh, that first match was hard-hitting. These women are pretty cool. Who's this? And I don't think I need to say it, but I'm going to say it. If there's a lapsed wrestling fan out there and they watched this match and then they saw Rhea Ripley, they're probably not lapsed anymore. But it was really good. I enjoyed it. Then we moved on to what, for me, was the match of the night. Probably because I'm super biased, but it was Damian Priest, Gunther, and Finn Balor for the World's Championship. Who am I biased towards? Finn Balor. I love him so much. He's one of my heroes in pro wrestling. I love Pat McAfee. Every time Finn Balor's in a match, he just goes on and on and on about Balor's abs and how he's 1% body fat, or that the man's never eaten a carb in his life. It's so funny. But it was really... WWE used to have a formula for triple threat matches. And one guy rolls out of the ring, the other two fight for a while, the guy comes back in, they take out somebody else, and then those two fight for a while. That wasn't this. Gunther and Damian were bullying Finn for a while. Honestly, that's the best way to put it. Poor Finn Balor. But I mean, he's a total knobhead, so... And yes, I said knobhead. I'm trying to watch the... Too much swearing. But he's, he's always in people's business, and he screwed Damian Priest, and Gunther didn't want him involved, and he attacked Gunther on Raw this week or last week or whatever. So it made sense that they didn't want to beat him up. And then, of course, Gunther and Damian Priest, big dudes, beating the hell out of each other. It was good stuff from everybody. I'm trying to think of some specific spots, but honestly, it's just one of those matches where, again, I'm not doing like a perfect review. I'm just telling you the things I enjoyed, or what I felt about them anyway. And just like I said earlier, every match was predictable. I didn't think for 1 second that anybody was going to win this match but Gunther. Same with the first two matches. I knew Drew was going to win. I knew Liv was going to retain. But for every match, I was expecting some kind of surprise. It would have been awesome for Finn to win the world title. Not that Damian doesn't deserve it. He does. But he's already been champion. And Finn deserves a proper, genuine title reign. And there's all these rumors that they're getting behind Finn Balor finally, like Creative is. Excuse me, which makes sense, actually, because if there's a Triple H guy, his name is Finn Balor. And, hang on. We all saw what he was like in NXT, so if the rumors are true, then in 2025, we're going to see a hell of a lot more of Finn Balor. and he deserves it in my opinion. But it's a very good match. Lots of really great spots, lots of near falls. One of my favorite parts, I think, was near the end. Damian Priest hits a South of Heaven choke slam, but he's kind of exhausted, so he kind of rolls away from Gunther. Finn's on the top rope. He hits the coup de grace. Just kind of like old Judgment Day moments of South of Heaven, coup de grace, 1, 2, 3. That's how they used to do it. I think that's how they won the tag titles, actually. But, of course, Damian broke it up at 2. And then the last, 30 seconds or so, the last minute of this match was just great. Because Gunther, the whole story with Gunther lately has been about his confidence. He's like, I don't know what I can do on my own. And then Finn kept getting involved. Well, now Gunther knows because he just kind of got pissed off. He took down Finn, took Damian to the outside, power bombed him on the bottom of the steel steps, which looked incredible. And then he went in the ring, hit his running drop kick, and his power bomb on Finn. 1, 2, 3, he retained his title. Again, a drop kick and a power bomb won a match, but they're from Gunther. Gunther has used the power bomb to win matches before. Gunther's one of those guys that, and there's not a lot of these, but there are a couple out there that doesn't have one single finisher. He does that power bomb, he does the sleeper, he has that clothesline he's won a few matches with. So it makes sense that this, was Gunther's chance to show, and now I think his confidence is back. I believe that's where this was going this whole time, is the whole match was Gunther's like, I can do this on my own, I don't need anybody. And then he killed Damian Priest, and then he killed Finn Balor, and now he's the world champion. Now, of course, the question is where we go from here. He's got to be done with Damian Priest. He's got to be, you assume at least, he's done with Finn Balor. I'm curious to see what's next. I know they're stacking that Netflix show. That will be more like a pay-per-view style event. And I know we're doing Punk Rollins, probably. That's, again, another rumor. It hasn't actually been confirmed. So maybe maybe the winner of that starts being like, hey, I won a huge match on the first Raw on Netflix. Maybe I need a world title shot. And we know that Punk is wanting to go after the world title as it is. We then had that was my favorite match of the night. We had the feel-good moment of the night when Michin and Chelsea Green fought over the first ever Women's United States Championship, and Chelsea Green won. There was no other choice. Everybody was, fans were pretty much behind Chelsea since the tournament was announced. She's worked so hard this year specifically. Ever since she made her big return, I say big return, if you don't remember, she returned, I think, at the 2023 Royal Rumble and lasted 4 seconds. So, ever since that moment, she's had this kind of fun character that could sometimes be silly, sometimes be stupid, and then sometimes pull out surprise wins. But she's really kicked it into high gear, especially the second half of the year. And this match with Michin was just so good. Her and Michin have great chemistry. And it's good for Michin, too. We all remember there was a 6-month period where it was either Michin or Mia Yim. And they couldn't make up their minds until they did this feud with Chelsea Green. And Michin's been great ever since. I really liked, there's 2 things that, once again, I haven't heard mentioned very much, which I think is interesting. I know professional reviewers, if that's what you want to call them, journalists, they're focused. They're focused on the match quality and the outcomes, but I want to point out all the other stuff. Like I pointed out Liv Morgan's bloody nose. 1, Chelsea Green came out in the greatest outfit I've ever seen in my life. It was just like a white sparkly outfit, but she had her own face plastered all over the top, the jeans, she had a little skirt. It was just the most Chelsea Green thing ever, and I absolutely adored it. But also, Michael Cole went out of his way to mention that both Chelsea Green and Michin were former TNA Knockouts champions. I love the fact that we are in an era where we can talk about that. Now, of course, WWE has a working relationship with TNA, at least through NXT, so maybe that's a little better, but remember, ever since Vince McMahon left, they've talked about New Japan, they've talked about the Bullet Club. I don't think they've talked about Ring of Honor, probably because it's owned by the same guy that runs AEW, but just to hear that stuff is nice. And they said it was 7 years to the day that she won that title or something, I don't remember, but it was just really cool to hear. Great match. Piper Niven, of course, got involved, but every time she got involved, Michin, whatever I want to call her, Michin would take her out, except for the time she got hit with that black hole slam. That looked awesome. I love Piper Niven. She needs more next year. She's so good, and having her finally as Piper Niven, her and Chelsea are fantastic. I don't know if you break them up. I don't know if I'd go with that, but it's definitely time for us to do more with Piper. I'm glad she didn't turn on Chelsea. I was a little worried she was going to, but I'm glad she didn't. The eat defeat spot, I know people are talking about it because she didn't really hit all of it, but Chelsea still sold her ass off. And she went all the way to the other side of the ring, and that was a cool spot. That was an incredibly cool moment to see the way she sold for that, and then her foot on the bottom rope, obviously. But the finish of the match was really good. Piper Niven got involved again. Chelsea was on the top rope. Michin took Piper off with a drop kick, and then Chelsea fought her back, and basically she was sitting on the top rope, and Michin was standing below her. She grabbed her arms like this, kind of hooked them, like double underhook, and then front flipped, landed on her feet while still holding her arms, hit the unprettier 1, 2, 3. It was a great looking finish, and yeah, Chelsea Green absolutely deserves that first U.S. champion. Now, like a lot of people have been saying, she doesn't even need to hold it for very long. I want her to. I want her to hold it all the way to WrestleMania. If you're like asking me personally, I would book it to where Chelsea Green, with or without Piper, shenanigans, whatever, she holds it as long as she can. Maybe she just hits a bunch of surprise roll-ups and Piper helps, whatever, and we can build to something at WrestleMania. I wouldn't mind seeing that match, Chelsea and Michin, at Mania, because they have so much good chemistry together. But obviously, yeah, it's the right decision with Chelsea Green, and I love the match overall. And again, it was a feel-good moment. I may or may not have had water coming from this general area. Then we get to the main event. And this was the controversial one because a lot of people felt like they built this match for Cody to lose. And Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, is most perfect. Does that sound right? Whatever. It was perfect. Let's put it like that. As far as it's Saturday night's main event, and the closing match, the main event, was a massive over babyface and a heel, given it's Kevin Owens, people still like him, but it was just the way it was built. And yes, the surprise, the present, the gift from Triple H was the Winged Eagle title for one night only. It looked great on Cody Rhodes. I get why titles change. You have to change with the times, but that's just the perfect title, especially for Cody. And again, this was a really good match. I don't know what to tell you. It's Cody Rhodes. It's Kevin Owens. They brawled a bunch because they don't like each other because Kevin Owens is an asshole. Jesse Ventura was on commentary, which Jesse Ventura, Pat McAfee, and Michael Cole had to be one of the best surprising commentary teams of the year. They were all so good together, and Jesse the Body Ventura had made it his mission to just talk crap about Cody Rhodes the whole time and basically say Kevin Owens isn't wrong, which obviously, the argument can be made that Kevin Owens wasn't wrong. But it was a really well-worked match, lots of really good spots. There was an early dive from Cody where he started selling the ankle. Kevin Owens doing the Randy Orton backdrop spot and then saying hi, Randy, into the camera. That was great. Later on, Cody did the RKO on the announce table and then hit the Cody Cutter. Another great spot. But once again, pretty predictable. an RKO and a Cody Cutter back-to-back looks really cool, but Kevin Owens is going to kick out. I love Jesse Ventura. I think he was like, I thought that was it. And I was like, they did. But obviously we have to talk about the referee bumps, which I thought, by the way, this main event could not have had more nostalgia with the Winged Eagle title, Lillian Garcia, Charles Robinson, Jesse Ventura. I know that all those characters had been around throughout the night, but all of it came together for a perfect nostalgic main event. But the first referee gets knocked out. Cody gets shoved into Charles Robinson. Kevin Owens hits a stunner, gets a visual pinfall over Cody Rhodes, which is huge. I don't think we've seen that yet. Eddie Orengo comes out, 1-2, kick out, because it took too long, so Kevin didn't win. Then they goes for the Cody Cutter. A little bit later, takes out Eddie Orengo. Now there's no referee again. Kevin Owens takes Cody down again. I can't remember with what, but he took him down nonetheless. And then he went to get a steel chair. And Jesse Ventura was like, oh, I bet Cody Rhodes will use the chair. Why are we mad at Kevin Owens for grabbing a chair? Cody will use it too. Sure enough, Kevin goes to hit Cody, misses. Cody hits the crossroads on the chair, chucks the chair out of the... Sorry about that. It's doing my best here, guys. Okay, so Cody, like I said, hit the crossroads on the chair. He throws the chair out of the ring. Charles Robinson counts the 3, but he's like standing outside the ring and just kind of counts it on the apron. So there's a lot of things that that Kevin could complain about, and he could be totally, can't think of the word here, justified. He could be totally justified because, Cody used the chair, and then Charles Robinson counted from the floor. Does that even count? And then, the show just kind of ended. And we'll get to what happened after the show in just a second. But the match was really well worked. It's Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. All 5 matches on this card were featuring competitors that have fantastic chemistry, and there's no reason why it couldn't be good. Like I said, all the outcomes were predictable, but I don't really think that makes it a bad show. Not in my opinion. Like I said, I did kind of bring it down for me at first, like when the show first ended and I shut the TV off and we had to get to bed with my daughter. I was just like, man, really? Like, everything was predictable. There was no surprises. There was no big moments. The coolest thing we saw was Rhea Ripley. Then some of the finishes were really good. I think the finish of every match was really good, honestly. You had the sudden Claymore. You had the great finishing sequence with Liv Morgan and Io Sky. You had the Gunther killing everybody. You had the Chelsea Green Unprettier, which looked awesome. And then you had the Crossroads on the chair, the Charles Robinson stuff, which raises a lot of questions. So, a really good show overall. However, like I said, we shut the TV off and we went straight to bed. And then this morning I got on social media, and it turns out Kevin Owens is a psychopath because he attached Cody Rhodes after the show went off the air, and he hit him with a package pile driver. Now, the one thing I do see everyone talking about, or I saw everyone talking about, was how the pile driver that Kevin Owens gave Randy Orton was like super protected and didn't look good and blah, blah, blah. These are the same people that complain about Canadian Destroyers, by the way. So everyone's bitching about that. Well, go watch that. If you don't know about that package pile driver, go look at it. He dropped Cody Rhodes right on his head. There's no question about it. He tried to kill Cody Rhodes. And then he walked off with the Winged Eagle title and apparently posted on social media, I haven't seen this yet, with the word mine above his head. So I don't know what's going on. It kind of seems like Kevin is going to run around with the Winged Eagle title because, well, hang on, before I get ahead of myself, when he was walking to the back, Triple H came out and shoved him, and they got in a screaming shoving match. And Triple H retired because he had a cardiac episode a few years ago, so I don't think they're going to have a match. But you never say never in pro wrestling. I'm sure it'll lead to something. If it doesn't, even if it's just like for the fans online, oh look, Kevin Owens and Triple H got into a fight. That's fine with me, but clearly this is going somewhere. Kevin took out Cody, and that's what I was about to get to, is that Randy Orton was hit with a regular pile driver and hasn't been seen since. Cody was hit with a package pile driver, and the camera angle saw Cody's head smack the mat. So how long does Cody stay out? If Cody comes back on SmackDown, that ruins everything. That would have ruined the aura of this whole story, because Kevin is snapped. He hit a regular pile driver on Randy Orton that didn't even look good. I don't give a shit how good it looked. I know I said try to watch the swearing, but I don't care. It was a pile driver. You don't see that in WWE. But that took Orton out. Orton hasn't been seen since. This is a package pile driver. It looked brilliant. And then Kevin Owens walked off. So you got to imagine Cody's going to be off TV for a while. And he's probably not going to vacate the title. But, I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Owens runs around with the Winged Eagle Championship going, I'm the champ. Because Cody's out. I killed him, so I'm the WWE champion. It'll probably lead to some big return, maybe on that Netflix show, maybe on the first SmackDown of the year on January 3rd, and we'll probably build to a rematch. Maybe there'll be a stipulation. It seems like a lot of feuds that are currently going need stipulations in the future, like Rhea and Liv, the Cody Kevin, and then this has nothing to do with Saturday Night's Main Event, but another one would be the Wyatt Six and the Final Testament. It all seems like we're going to get some good stipulation matches in the new year. But yeah, so that was cool. I guess my brain is still getting used to this idea that WWE can do stuff like that. They do stuff like that all the time, I know, but it's hard to get used to. I'm still used to the show went off the air, we're done, have a nice day. But since Triple H has taken over, you get the false endings where the logo pops up and then something happens. Remember last year, Survivor Series, fucking CM Punk came back. So there's that, and then there's the the social media stuff. The first time Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes, when he turned heel, it was on social media. He attacked Cody Rhodes by his bus, and there were no actual cameras. That's the coolest part. There were no actual cameras on them. It was just a bunch of fan footage. And WWE trusted their audience to capture that and put it on social media, and it worked. And I don't think the Triple H thing was the same. It looked like it was shot the same, but it wasn't, if that makes any sense. It was clearly a WWE camera, but it was like supposed to be a behind-the-scenes camera. We weren't supposed to see this, so I really like that stuff. I'm still getting used to it, but it is WWE. It's WWE continuing to change with the times. It's like, okay, you watched this whole pro wrestling show. It was really good. You had a good time. But aren't you curious if anything happened after the show? And we're all stuck on our phones on social media nowadays, so it worked. And now I really want to watch SmackDown. I really want to see what happens. I want to see, how long is Cody Rhodes going to be out? What is Kevin Owens going to do? What is the direction for KO now that Cody is probably out for a while and Orton's still out? Is Orton going to come back and we do that feud for a little bit until Cody comes back? Or does something happen with Sami Zayn? Now, I know it's a lot to process, but you got to remember they're doing this transfer window thing for the rest of the year where everybody can go to any show and they can make trades and stuff. So, I don't know. As you can tell, Saturday Night's Main Event did a really good job of making me look forward to what's next. And it's not just with Cody and Kevin. Like, every other match on the card gave me something to look forward to. What is next for Gunther? When are we going to do Rhea versus Liv? How is that going to come about? And, now that Chelsea Green is the first ever U.S. champ, how is that going to, how are they going to do with that? Who is she going to fight? Trying to say who is going to be her first challenger, but it didn't come out right. So thank you everybody so much for watching. This went on longer than I thought it would, but I just felt like I had a lot to say. If this video does well, I might start doing this instead of that JT's wrestling review I tried to do, because I just can't do it. I'm not good at capturing and taking notes and then reviewing. Just doing this off the top of my head the day after, that works really well. I guess the next time you'll see me do this will probably be the Netflix show. Like, I can't do this for Raw and SmackDown and NXT and Dynamite and Rampage and Collision and Ring of Honor and TNA. But for the big shows, and no, I don't mean Paul White, I can do stuff like this. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe. If you feel like it, let me know down in the comments what you thought about Saturday Night's Main Event. Like I said, there's a lot to look forward to, a lot of stories coming out, and even if there isn't a precise story coming out, like with Chelsea Green and Gunther, it is exciting to see what's next for them. So until next time, I hope you enjoy Saturday Night's Main Event. But this is JT Channel. I am JT, and I'll see you on the next one.